the gaming industry is in a pretty interesting place to say the least currently. On one hand, you have a bunch of companies that are currently spending literally hundreds of millions in creating things that no one literally has asked for once, or even an audience exists. We call that nowadays woke slop and modern audience slop, obviously. And on the other hand, you have games that found success and then decide to completely abandon everything for I don't even know honestly what reasons. Then you also have big companies that have decided, you know what, we're not gonna make good games anymore. We're gonna forget what game making even is. You know, your Bethesdas, your Blizzards, your BioWares. So many examples of this, honestly. And then you have the indie developers who are absolutely raking in multiple hundreds of millions because well, it's not like they actually did a super job in most cases of being great game developers and caring about the audience. It's just the fact that their opposition decided to completely commit Minecraft on themselves. So, there we are. What an interesting time to be alive indeed.
Oh man, this one is embarrassing. Imagine releasing a popular indie hit, a game that you made with your friends in a dorm room, and that game pops off, and all of a sudden,
This video should be about Splitgate.
investors come knocking at your door, and you take their money. You then stop supporting the game that everybody loved, switch gears from being an indie studio to trying to be a AAA studio, essentially chasing the next live service hit, and then falling flat on your face.
Beautiful.
That's the story of today's video. You know, normally when we hear about a game that is a bonus,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's Splitgate. I never got to talk about it, but I think that was Splitgate's story, and Splitgate is hilarious, okay? Came out of nowhere, people liked it. Then came the second iteration of the game, and well, who asked? Who asked for any of this? Like, why did you do any of the things that you did? It is insane.
bona fide failure, a verifiable flop. We'll see some people come out of the woodwork to try to say that Steam numbers don't mean anything. Those numbers, it's just a
Ah, yes, the numbers that have been correct every single time for every single game released in the history of ever. Surely they don't matter, Chad. Exactly. This reminds me of the situation in America with the ICE agents and the lady who tried to ran a guy over with her car, and people are like, "Oh, in the video where you can clearly see her trying to do that, no, 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 no. Multiple angles of her doing that? No, no, no." Man, it's just like living in reality is so hard and complex nowadays. It's insane. Some people are gonna eat and gobble up that virtual reality pill so fast.
number. It's all, really. And usually that's coming from fanboys more than anything else, coping over the failure of a game. But in this case, we are actually hearing it from developers saying that Steam player numbers are just a number for a live service game.
Well, we have also heard developers say that, you know, this franchise that used to make hundreds of millions per release, it's actually good. It's only now making barely 10 million. We have also heard that from those people. So I wouldn't trust anything that they're saying, honestly, because they lie to our faces, and they don't even try to be convincing on their lies. You know what honestly peeves me the most? It's when someone lies to you and they're not even trying. Okay? They're not even trying. They're lying to your face and you can see the thing that you are right and they're telling you wrong right in front of you. That I think that's the most infuriating one.
Splitgate has to be one of the most fascinating, tragic, and albeit hilarious fall-offs that I think I've ever seen in this entire industry. We have a game that is now releasing for what I believe is the second time of them re-releasing the same game that has now been met with Concord-level player numbers, deservedly. Because this is the same studio that had their CEO take the stage at Summer Games Fest to dunk on Call of Duty and Halo, I'm not like the other guys, only to release a hero shooter battle royale with worse monetization. None of this had to happen. This wasn't a bad market or bad timing or anything like that. This is just bad judgment over and over again. This is a studio that turned away from the players that made them, chased money and a version of success that only ever existed in their head. So today, I want to talk about that failure. I want to talk about how I think this is one of the biggest own goals I've ever seen in this industry, and how also I don't think these guys are going to be alone in it, and it's kind of a threat to the rest of indie. Today's video is sponsored by HDMI, and I want to talk to you guys about something that I don't really think anybody really thinks.
No, thank you.
I think this story fascinates me so much because it's such a clean example of how self-destructive the AAA mindset and
What the hell is this?
clean example of how self-destructive the
What?
AAA.
What is this? The hell is that? What the hell is that?
Mindset and live service model can be. Splitgate almost feels like a lab test for a virus where you take something small that you're working on, you inject it with money, scale, investors, and expectations, and then you watch how fast that virus can spread and your subject dies. And in this case, it didn't take years. It happened almost immediately. Recently, 1047 Games quietly re-released Splitgate 2 under a new name, Splitgate Arena Reloaded, and the reception for this game has been bad, like really bad. It barely even cleared over 2,000 players at its peak, and it's already dropped back down to averaging just around 1,000 players per day.
Amazing.
And this is coming from a studio that's had over $100 million poured into it at this point, a studio that has burned through its goodwill so thoroughly that when the game came back, the players just didn't.
Wow, 360 no scope. Did you see that? That was a reference. Did you like it?
Now, when player counts get this low, alarms start going off, and I don't care how much people want to try to downplay it. For a free-to-play live service shooter, this is just not sustainable.
Oh, wow. This actually looks like Concord. This is legit Concord. Wow. Yeah, this is actually unironically Concord.
This is barely enough to even keep the servers online. Their current player numbers are only a few hundred players off from where Concord launched, and we already know how that one ended. So when people started pointing this out on Twitter, the studio immediately tried to jump in and shut this conversation down. On Twitter, the official account...
Oh, that always works out perfectly when you try to shut down your critique by force. Yeah, that's surely not gonna invoke something called some kind of Streisand effect or, you know, whatever.
Posted, Steam charts don't measure fun. They show one number, one platform at one given moment. They don't...
You're right. These Steam charts do not measure the fun because no one's having fun in your shit game, okay?
Show the full picture of what it actually feels like to play, and they definitely don't capture the community that is actively helping shape what Arena Reloaded is becoming, including upcoming content like Arena Royale. Over the past...
Oh, man. 10 pictures that are gonna make you go shit, fuck rules and shit.
6 months, we rebuilt Splitgate from the ground up because we believe in our game, our team, and our community. The 1047 team remains committed to delivering the best version of Splitgate possible. To our community, thank you. Your feedback and passion have helped make Arena Reloaded better every day. And to everyone who hasn't played
so much better that people don't want to play it. Now that's a level of better.
Arena Reloaded is free. The gameplay is the best it's ever been, and we would love for you to jump in and form
the best it's ever been. Still shit though.
Your own opinion.
But the best.
A lot of passionate people worked very hard on it. Okay, so I guess we're just denying reality now. Steam charts don't measure fun. That is a complete dodge, and these guys know it. Nobody is asking Steam charts to measure fun. They measure whether people are actually there. And in a lot,
Steam charts actually one-to-one measure fun, okay? Look at our creators. People are having a lot of fun there, and those charts reflect it. Look at this garbage. People are not having fun, and the charts reflect it.
Live service shooter, that is not some secondary data point. It is the entire game. If people are not logging in, queuing up, and sticking around, then whatever fun you think you've built is irrelevant. A multiplayer game with no players isn't misunderstood. It's just flat out ignored. I'm sorry, but...
Wait. While this all has been happening, I've been looking at the character designs, and it's all just new male, not trans, but, you know, by gender BS.
Player numbers directly affect the experience. Low population means slower matchmaking. It means playing the same people over and over again. It means bot-filled lobbies. That shrinks match variety, that kills progression pacing, and it turns every single lobby
Yeah, like, what the hell is this?
into either a sweatfest or a ghost town. Player numbers don't just reflect interest, they actively shape whether the game is going to be enjoyable at all. You don't get to pretend like those numbers are some abstract when it is directly dictating how this
Okay, listen, I don't know what is with this art stuff, but look at the rocket.
shape whether the game is going to
That doesn't look satisfying in the slightest. It looks dull. Am I the only one honestly looking at this and thinking that? There's no way, right? Boys, leave the timestamp 10 minutes so I can know if you also think that looks dull, or am I just tweaking out a little bit, okay? Also, by the way, like the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Takes less than a second, greatly appreciated. Helps out the channel a lot. The power is in your hands, unironically. And if you think this is important, then definitely like and subscribe right now. Takes less than a second. Thank you, everyone.
be enjoyable at all. You don't get to pretend like those numbers are some abstract when it is directly dictating how this game feels minute to minute. Players already voted, they didn't show up. You don't get to try to tell them about how passionate you are or anything like that, and they need to go form their own opinion after they already have. Effort does not entitle you to an audience, and belief does not reverse reality. If nobody is playing your live service game, then on some level, it just isn't fun, at least not enough to be able to matter. And I say that after actually playing Splitgate Arena Reloaded myself. I put time into it. Mechanically, it's fine. It plays well. The guns feel responsive. Matches move quickly. And on a purely technical level, it works. But
this looks ass. It just does. I don't even know, honestly, why I feel like it, but everything feels off. The running, the animations, everything feels off, honestly. I just look at this and it's you look at odd creators and you feel how good it is, right? This it's just off. The animations, I don't know, is it the size of the arena maybe? Is it just the way that they made this look? I don't know, but it just feels off. This just inspires me kind of to dislike it.
that's also the problem. It just only works. What makes this game not fun isn't the mechanics, it's the complete absence of a community and personality. Nobody's talking in the lobbies. I'm constantly being matched with the same people because the player pool is so small and everything else is just bots filling the gap, which means that every single match is just playing the same way. The maps are functional but forgettable. The characters are faceless. People just wearing suits with no personality, no identity, nothing to be able to latch onto. Visually,
the duality of man, by the way. Concord died because of too much identity. This has no identity.
it's just kind of bland across the board. Nothing sticks, nothing is leaving an impression, and the whole thing works on a technical level, but it just has no flavor or soul. Arena shooters live by that game-to-game experience. If matches start to blur together, you just start drifting away. You stop caring. You stop logging in. That's something that I talked about.
Bro, this is literally Call of Duty levels of slop, okay? Look at this. Look at this screen.
Shooters live by that game-to-game experience. If
Okay, so here you have a kill screen. It says plus 100 a kill, and then you. This is just some kind of zoomer autism. You kill someone and literally tells you it on the screen 3 different times. Like, why?
matches start to blur together, you just start drifting away. You stop caring. You stop logging in. That's something that I talked about just recently with people in my.
Also, why is this? Why is this really? It's just, what is this really the design? What the hell?
Community Discord about whether or not any of these traditional shooters or arena shooters even have a place anymore. And like this, I don't think they do. These games used to thrive on culture, open mics, trash talk, jokes. Now everybody is in private chats, they're playing solo, or they're not even human. And without that layer, the entire experience just starts to feel hollow. And what bothers me is that it never had to be this way. Splitgate had a community, it had momentum, and over time they just burned that all away. And now,
yeah. If you're low on ammo, it just starts just pulsating red. That That is horrible design.
What we're left with is this self-fulfilling prophecy, this game that's no fun because nobody is playing it, and nobody is playing it because the game feels empty. And that emptiness is not a mystery or a market failure, it's just a result of choices.
He's
This
playing
isn't a
against
game
bots, by the way. He's playing against bots. They're just literally running and shoot straight at him and shooting.
struggling to find an audience. It's a studio that already lost one. Splitgate started off as a small grassroots project built by its founder Ian and a handful of friends, a dorm room game, if you will, and it went into beta in 2019. They slowly built out a core audience, and then it really broke through with its 1.0 launch back in 2021. It became one of those pandemic success stories, peaking at over 67,000 concurrent players on Steam, and for a team of roughly 20 developers, that's massive. It's the exact kind of story that we talk about on this channel all the time. But what makes this one different is alongside that 1.0 launch, 1047 Games would also announce that feature development of Splitgate would effectively end. Yeah, they released the game and then threw it onto maintenance mode. And then 2 months later, they would come out and say that they also got a $100 million venture capitalist investment. The team would then pivot almost immediately to a new project, and the player base felt it just as fast. Within a month, Splitgate's numbers collapsed to under 10,000.
Wait. Again, I just want to show that a 100 million venture capitalism investment. And you're gonna tell me Assassin's Creed costed only 116 million to make? Shadows, I mean. These numbers are such lies, okay? When this garbage is 100 million investment to make, then, bruv, and Assassin's, you're gonna tell me that, oh no, AAA game, it just does not fit in accordance to life.
Concurrent players before everybody else just moved on. But that's fine, right? Because apparently Splitgate 2 is right around the corner, only now it's not a scrappy 20-person development team. No, the studio ballooned to over 170 developers, and then
make FPS great again. Oof, I mean, someone tried.
The CEO goes and takes the stage at Summer Games Fest to finally announce the game's release, and he says that he's tired of Halo. He's sick of Call of Duty and their cycle. He wants Titanfall to come back. He's wearing a Make FPS...
Oh, I remember this! It was pretty funny.
Great again hat. And then he announces a Battle Royale hero shooter, and the crowd went mild. Splitgate 2 launched to around 25,000 concurrent players on Steam, less than half of what the original game had hit just years earlier. The press had latched on to the controversial hat, unhappy with the political messaging around it. The CEO eventually apologized for it, openly admitting that it was just a desperation move to try to get attention, a terrible choice to...
I love how you can easily just see through these people. Virtue signaling is such a great thing, is it not?
Make, because the people that are asking for an apology have no interest in forgiveness. Those same journalists were criticizing him over the hat even after his apology, and ironically, even still today. There was also drama around...
Based. If he's just gonna tuck turd and run like that, just rake him over the coals. I mean, what am I supposed to do? Feel sorry for him? Like, grow a spine.
$80 bundles, to which the CEO said he had no idea how they made their way into the game, and they all blamed it on a former employee. After that, the floor just kind of gave out. Player counts continued to crater. They had layoffs weeks after the game's launch and more a month after that.
Good.
The studio blamed it on an early release, pushed the game back into beta, and then they just watched as those player numbers continue to sink even further. Eventually, they just rebranded it as Splitgate.
God, I just love how generic people make this shit.
Arena Reloaded, with a launch in winter 2025, and that's how we got here. A game that started as a genuine success story, a studio that had momentum, goodwill, and an actual community, and a series of decisions that slowly, and then very quickly, burned it all to the ground. We have some professional speedrunners on our hands. These guys folded their entire company in a matter of 5 years. They burned all of their goodwill. They ruined their reputation. They have zero positive image within this industry right now. And, you know, I was actually excited when their CEO took the stage at Summer Games Fest. I was like, man, this guy is totally speaking my language right now. I'm sick of the way that first-person shooters are handled today. A bunch of other people are. I would love to see Titanfall come back. I just talked about that somewhat recently. And then this guy goes out and says, here's our Battle Royale hero shooter. Oh, so it's all bullshit. Something that...
Does anyone even understand the hero part of it? Like, are there classes? I again didn't feel or see it, you know?
It was proved even further by capitulating to journalists over a hat. My guy, Nobody cared about the hat. The only people that did were the people that had no interest in playing your game to begin with. I think how they handled that situation, how he handled that situation specifically, really drove interest and trust
Pathetic and spineless.
into the ground for them. Because you already had a bunch
But I like when people like this get exposed, because then you know that, oh, I'm literally never supporting anything this dude does.
of people that were unsure whether or not they could trust them after what happened with Splitgate 1. And then you go on social media and say, I'm not apologizing for the hat. Now I am apologizing for the hat. Now there's $80 bundles in the game. I have no idea how those $80 bundles got in the game. Oh, it was a former employee that just so happened to work for Call of Duty.
Dude, you might as well just blame it on ghosts at that point. It's more believable.
After that, everybody knows that you're just selling snake oil. It's all PR. Nobody can trust you. You're not worth listening to. That's the reason why Arena Reloaded, relaunched, whatever the hell you want to call it, basically was met with no audience at all, because your game isn't impactful enough, interesting enough, or original enough for audiences to want to put up with all of this drama, all the instability, and the inability to be able to trust you. You had that. You squandered it. You sold it off. You took the money instead. And I want to be clear, I actually do think this studio cares now, but that's a survival instinct. It's the difference between them having a studio and a game and them having to go work at McDonald's. It's probably a little too rough. They'd probably go work for Activision. You learned your lessons, that's great, but it's a little bit too late. Now, who does need to learn the lessons from this is the rest of the industry, and especially indie studios. This entire thing was just caused by hubris. That's all it is. These guys took the money and they overinvested into something, mistaking what made them successful. They didn't understand what made them successful. Icarus flew too close to the sun. And with AAA games struggling, with indie games taking off, AAA is going to start circling these guys for success, which means something like this is bound to happen again. Splitgate's lack of identity, the bad calls around Splitgate 1 and 2, the CEO embarrassing himself on stage, all of that stuff matters, but the bigger issue here, the one that actually explains why this collapsed the way that it did, is that 1047 completely misread the interest around their own game. They treated Splitgate like it was this foundation for a massive AAA scale live service platform, when in reality, it just wasn't built for that. And once they tried to force it into that shape, everything started to break. Splitgate 1 was a solid game. People liked it, but it also launched in a very specific moment. Like a lot of games during the pandemic, it benefited from audiences that had a lot more time, fewer alternatives, and a higher tolerance for sticking around. When the player count fell to around 10,000 players within a month, that wasn't some freak collapse. That was probably the real size of that game's audience, and that number keeps showing up again, or at least right in that neighborhood. With Splitgate 2, that was 25,000 players. With Arena Reloaded, it's just 2,000 players. Every launch roughly lands in that same place because, well, that's just the ceiling that they never wanted to acknowledge. That misread is exactly why that $100 million investment changed everything for them.
Wait, are you as tired as I am, honestly, about these useless shooters that have no blood in them, by the way? You know, you just pepper your opponent with something that looks like, I don't know, paintballs at best of days, and that's it. I mean, it feels so dry. And the worst part is, I think, is that you feel it has no impact, because if an opponent is running at you and you shoot them, they don't fall backwards. They fall forwards because the momentum.
These guys, those investors did not come in looking for a modest arena shooter with a loyal niche. They were...
Oh, wait a minute. That's kind of... that's normal-ish in a lot of situations, but it feels in these slub games, it just feels like they just suddenly die. They just flop over. It's so stupid.
Facing the next GTA, the next Fortnite, the next live service unicorn. This is the same time frame where we saw billions of dollars being dumped into gaming startups on pure speculation alone. And when you go from a 20-person team to a studio of more than 170 people, when you're suddenly sitting on 9 figures to make your next game, your priorities are going to shift. You're going to stop building for the audience that you have, and you're going to start designing for an audience that you wish existed. You're going to chase trends. You're going to widen the funnel. You're going to build monetization first and hope the rest of the game follows. That's why that monetization story matters to me. Hiring a former Call of Duty monetization manager is not an accident, and I do not buy it for a second that their leadership somehow just didn't know that the game launched with $80 bundles and aggressive pricing pretty much across the board. When you're operating at that scale, those kind of decisions do not slip through the cracks. And by the time Splitgate reached that point, the studio is now answering to their investors instead of their players, and they're not thinking about protecting a community anymore. They're just trying to justify an investment. And I think that shift in mindset leads directly into the real fracture. Walking away from Splitgate 1 that close to launch is the moment that players realized that the studio had already moved on. Live service games survive on the idea that if I invest my time into them, then the game is going to invest right back into me. Splitgate broke that expectation almost immediately, and once players see that, well, they're going to leave too. And after that, the studio just forgot about who they were. They blew up in size. Everything started getting safer. When you go from 20 people to over 170, decisions don't come from instinct anymore. They come from consensus. Ideas are going to get watered down, risks are going to get avoided, and anything that's too sharp is going to get smoothed out. Instead of asking what makes this game ours, the question becomes what is the safest version of this game that we can ship? And if that's what you end up with, well, that's how the game is going to technically work, but that doesn't mean that game is going to stick. Nothing bold, nothing.
In this whole match, by the way, this is the only person I think in the match who is not a bot. Dropper Lord, 100% a bot.
That doesn't.
And the other guy, also 100% a bot. This is probably the only non-bot entity in the game.
Mean that game is going to stick. Nothing bold, nothing memorable, nothing that's going to give players a reason to want to come back to it after playing it for a few sessions. I just think that these guys are way too self-assured, or maybe investor-assured is probably the better term here. That Summer Games Fest moment now tells me everything that I need to know because of how these guys saw themselves. You don't posture yourself as the savior of the genre if you don't believe that you belong on that stage, but that confidence did not come from the players. It came from capital. From that point on, Splitgate was not being shaped by the community anymore. It was being shaped around expectations set by investors, by headcounts, by the idea that this game had to be big and that it would be big. And once that became the goal, well, the game itself stopped being the point. I think this is the real trap for indie studios right now. Indie is getting bigger. The money these guys are making is getting louder. They are looking more consistent than AAA right now. And the pressure for these guys to scale is going to be constant. But the moment that you stop building for the audience that you already have and you start building for people that want to cut you a check, you're going to lose your footing. I'm telling you right now, a huge amount of what is wrong with games today comes from that shift. It's not just players buying games anymore. It's investors, partners, stakeholders, all with their own expectations that are going to kick in long.
This is not exactly true about investors, stakeholders, and blah, blah, blah. They expect you to make money, but it's not like they're saying, haha, now make the game shit. No, that's not what they're saying. A lot of these entities don't actually even participate in the creative process. So, the fact that Splitgate had investors, yeah, that means that they're going to add probably some kind of microtransaction that no one is going to like, but that doesn't mean the game has to be bad. They chose to make the game bad. It's their own fault, not the investors' fault, okay? Most of these investors are just kind of sprinkling and throwing money wherever, however, and blah, blah, blah. They don't care. They don't give a shit. But you know, these companies are the ones that are failing. It's the same thing as when people are unreasonably, unsubstantiated, and blaming my boy, Bobby Big Dick Original Hard R N-word Kotick, okay? People blamed him. Bro, he didn't even know what World of Warcraft was. He had no idea that Blizzard was a game company. He only knew that you can add $100 mounts and... Stupid camera. And it's that some idiots are gonna buy it. That's what Bobby did. Bobby had no idea what the hell, what a games industry even is. Okay, he didn't know how many games Blizzard even has. Okay, my G did his job perfectly. He said $100 amount for the slop lovers, and there we go. Then they got rid of him because he was bad and evil, and then they replaced him with a bunch of feminists and losers. There you go. Have fun. Oh, Bobby. I miss you so much, my G. Anyway, that was Legendary Drops. Splitgate is a disaster. The devs are incompetent. Surprise, surprise. Like, that's a new story nowadays. Bye.